Hey, family, I am Candace from the Game to Grace, and I am here with a heavy heart today. And if you are a Black parent, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know the verdict that we just witnessed the verdict, and how everybody's talking about it, how it was it was to the extreme, really. And whether you knew him or not, if you have a son, a nephew, or a father, a brother, or a cousin, you're left with you felt that you really felt that in your soul. So some I've been talking to a lot of especially women that's mothers that have black sons, and it's been extremely concerning for them. That some of them are, trying to figure out how to cope with all this. So today we're going to do something a little different. This is our special edition. And now that we have our schedules back together, Dr. Mari and I have our schedules back together. We're going to go ahead and have these episodes for the special edition from the Game to Grace with Dr. Mari. And I have brought you someone that's very special to me, that's very special to my heart, that's special to our family, and so many other people that she is special to. And uh, she's going to give you the tools to move forward with this. And this is a particular conversation that every parent who's scared, every parent who's exhausted, I'm telling you, like really exhausted, uh, and you're wondering, what's the next step? You're wondering, how can I protect my son? How can we eliminate this particular thing from happening? How this is so now that it's almost making us feel numb, how it's somehow it's like an occurrence, like it's just like where some of us are kind of getting so used to it that that should not be the norm. It should not be the norm. And and then too, how we can remain strong as parents, as mothers, as guardians, grandparents. How can we remain strong and not break in front of our children, our grandchildren, our nephews, our uncles, cousins, whoever it might be, that's in your family that is a male, for you. And so I'm just going to go ahead and introduce Dr. Mari. Dr. Mari is a licensed, she is a licensed, and I will repeat that again. She is a licensed behavioral health expert, a life coach, and a founder of The Village, a holistic wellness community where healing, growth, and sisterhood thrive. She has more than 20 years of experience in the mental health and personal development. She's dedicated her life to empowering women to set healthy boundaries, rediscover joy, and protect their peace. And what I love about Dr. Mari, she's also a friend of mine, but what I love about her is her approach. Her approach, which blends in with clinical expertise and with soulful wisdom that she has. And she doesn't just give out textbook answers. She meets you where you are with warmth, insight, and real talk. And Dr. Mari, thank you for being here today, especially on so short notice. But you you made this a point to schedule this into your agenda for this weekend. So thank you. Um, I know this conversation is going to help many parents that's struggling right now and how to deal and how to cope with it. So I thank you. I thank you. I thank you.
Thank you for having me and caring enough about us
Yes.
to decide to address some really hard topics.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and dive in. I have a question. that I know every black parent is asking right now. And it's, just understanding all this trauma that the community is having, because this is I think is community trauma because all of us are feeling it.
Mhm.
Um, Dr. Mari, I want to start here because I think this is what we're really all feeling if we can just, put it into words. Can you help us understand what's happening psychologically when we see black men and this happens to them and they get these ridiculous sentences, and why it hits so close to home when it's even not our own child that we're feeling? Can you break that down for us?
Well, what you're describing is vicarious trauma. So vicarious trauma says I don't necessarily have the trauma happening to me, but I'm witnessing someone else have this trauma that touches on something that's related to me,
Mhm.
right? So if I have a black son and I see another black son of someone else be harmed, I'm by virtue of experiencing that, experiencing their trauma, even though it's not necessarily happening to me. So psychologically, we're aligning, attaching those feelings that I can see outside of me to the inside of me, if that makes
Mm,
sense.
yeah.
And so when we're exposed to those traumatic experiences, it really is common for us um, to feel a sense of like it's happening to me.
Mm, yeah. Um, hmm. So how can we? So we're experiencing this. So give
Mhm.
us some steps on um, how to cope. Actually, how to cope.
Well, one is to understand. Well, let me go back before we go there.
Mhm.
Is, we live in a world that really seeks to um, eliminate us,
Mm,
right? And I, whether it be, how we wear our hair or how we speak or what clothes we wear, what kind of music we listen to, or what our religion is, there's a lot of high scrutiny and criticism of that, and that's what I mean by eliminate. I'm not saying they're
yeah.
actually trying
Right. Right.
to
Right.
kill us. I mean, there are some thoughts there too,
Right.
but this, erasure, right? You see it happening in our national parks where they're getting rid of historical facts that happen to
Mhm.
us in this country. So part of dealing with this sense of vicarious trauma or secondary trauma is about not sitting in it all the time.
Mm, mhm.
We need to be aware of what's happening around us. Yes, advocacy is amazing and we need to participate and have our voices heard, and we need to rest too. So we need to turn the TV off, turn the social media off, get centered. I fully suggest and recommend people getting in nature, whatever nature looks like, right? In creation, whether it be a walk along a river, a lake, a pond, in the ocean, taking a walk along a trail, just putting your feet in the grass, feet in the dirt,
Mm,
right? And centering yourself in something beyond you, something bigger than you, for lack of a better way of saying that. And so that's one thing, is just to really try to give yourself a place of rest, emotional and mental rest from the assault that a lot of our people are experiencing in a number of different fronts. So that's one. Number two is to actually talk about it, like verbalize it, get it
mhm.
outside of your body,
Mhm.
right? So we express ourselves when we verbalize things, we're like letting out the energy that we're containing. So talking about it with other people that can hear that, maybe they're not looking for advice, just being able to express what's happening to you. Writing about it, you know again, that's another form of expression, of allowing yourself to release all of that toxic energy that you're consuming when you're seeing things like this over and over again. So those are just a few tips on what to do with this, right? Is really to figure out how to separate yourself from that traumatic experience, but yet experience what the trauma is about.
Mm-hmm.
Does it?
Okay. Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. And I know you said to try to disconnect from social media, disconnect from the TV, disconnect from the things that you're seeing before you, and you keep seeing it, and you keep seeing it, and you keep seeing it, and you'll continue to get in the rut, of it, you know, listening to it and listening to it over and over. And so, what effect does that have on our mental state? Like,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. So, you know, knowledge is power. We know that. And we
Mm-hmm.
need to know what's happening to us. So, again, I'm not saying to disconnect completely, like you don't
Right.
see anything. It
Right.
is about making sure that what you consume is manageable, right? So, just as much as you consume something very negative, let's consume something that's positive and
Positive.
uplifting and is going to provide a way of having some empowerment. Because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times, what happens is when you're consuming this type of information and you're seeing it over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
you become disempowered, right?
Mm.
Now, disempowerment for um, for people is harmful. We become depressed in a place
Mm-hmm.
of disempowerment. So, from a psychological standpoint, we're also looking like pulling ourselves into a depressive state
Mm-hmm.
because we become hopeless, helpless, all the things that we know are a part of a oppressive state. So, physiologically, we're like swallowing poison,
Mm.
right? And our body responds to that toxicity of what we're seeing in our world. It's why back, you know me, I'm a history buff and I have sociology. I study all kinds of things that happened to us in the past.
Right.
Um, and why they had public lynchings and things like that
Mm.
was so that we could see the trauma. We could see and experience what could happen to us if we weren't careful. And so that
Jeez.
became, that gave us elements of fear,
Mm-hmm.
elements of hopelessness, helplessness. And then what did people do back then? Is back then they usually turned to some type of substance of some sort,
Mm-hmm.
right? They
Mm-hmm.
drank too much. So when your great great granddaddy was an alcoholic, it's not just because he liked alcohol or he just
Right.
wanted to drink. He was sometimes masking this
Mm-hmm.
traumatic experience that he just witnessed, even though it wasn't his trauma, it was somebody else's.
Else's trauma. Wow. Mm.
So we have some maladaptive behaviors that come out of carrying this when we don't express it and allow it to come out of us. So yeah, it can lead to depression, definitely anxiety. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of Black women with anxiety. So even when the first question is like, okay, what is this doing to us? Some of it's making us very much in an anxious state most of the days. We're hyper aware, hyper vigilant,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all in that anxiety place. And the problem with anxiety is that the more anxiety you have, the more anxiety you have to have. Like it just
Mm.
grows, grows, and grows. So it doesn't decrease by having more knowledge. It actually increases because you're more aware of what could happen
Happen.
to you or yours.
So, what you said you see more Black women having this state. What is the percentage now than what it used to do, what used to be back in the day? If you can give a percentage.
I can't speak for everybody. I can't speak
Mm-hmm.
for the world
Yeah.
or even the United States. I can tell you from my practice.
Okay.
So, maybe the pandemic is something else that created some more anxiety for us. But
Yeah.
pre-pandemic, Black women would come in. Yeah, they'd have some anxieties here or there. But, it was probably 25-30% were coming in with anxiety as a predominant issue. Now it's up to like 80, 85% of the folks I'm seeing, the anxiety is the predominant symptom that is happening. And so we're living in a space where we have a lot of information about what's happening 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in real time.
Mhm.
Um, and it's causing us to really have that hypervigilance and hyper awareness that really are hallmarks of anxiety.
Mhm.
So when somebody's like, I'm watching the room, that sounds good, but really that is your anxiety's in overdrive,
Wow.
right? Because anxiety is supposed to come up and then go back down, and
Mhm.
come up and go back down based on the circumstances that you're in, not just always up here,
Mhm.
right? Now with Black women and men too, and not exclusively, but definitely with our folks, it doesn't necessarily present as um, I'm feeling anxious in my body necessarily.
Mhm.
A lot
Mhm.
of times it says irritability. Like I'm just irritated all the time. I'm always
Yeah.
on edge. You know,
Yeah. Mhm.
say I'm popping off all the time. A
All
lot
the
of that
time. Yeah.
is anxiety. I'm already at a high level because I'm consuming this information. I'm seeing everything that's happening in the world, and then that one little thing tips me over the edge.
Mhm. So sometimes, like when they released the verdict, when they talked about the verdict, and this is just with anything. This, you know, and it's almost like you can't watch Mississippi burning and then go out, in a community and think, you're gonna be okay. Those just things that you can't do. So sometimes when they have these different verdicts, when they have these different movies, that are about us, and about the community and what we're going through, sometimes we just can't do that because just from listening to you now, it just causes just more anxiety. And I never thought about it that way, like I'm watching a room, because now I do watch the room because of like how people just come in and just start shooting. I'm always making sure that I know where an exit door is, and I'm sitting close to an exit door. And I never thought that was a part of anxiety. So that's I'm learning today. That's very educational for me. So yeah,
And
wow.
again, some of these things are normal. I do want people to be, protecting themselves and seeing, because we do live in a world in the United States where, guns are a thing and people shooting
Mhm.
up things are a thing. That doesn't necessarily happen in other parts of the world. So we do have a reason to be hyper aware,
Mhm.
but knowing that, then I have to manage how many other things do I add to that.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like you said, if I'm going to watch Mississippi Burning, great, watch it. But also know that this movie is going to be triggering, right? It's
Mhm.
going to produce something in me. So, on the backside, I need to have a plan. I need
Mhm.
to have a plan of how I'm going to deal with whatever came up for me in the movie or the verdict. We knew the verdict could go either way,
Yeah.
right? It's a
Mhm.
verdict. So, being prepared for an outcome that came up. What am I going to do? And so what kind of grounding exercises am I going to do? That's kind of when I was talking about, going into nature and finding a place to rest. So
Mhm.
how am I going to rest from this information? What am I going to do if this information is negative, if it's not what I want it to be? How am I going to advocate? So having a plan of action prior to will also help reduce the anxiety when you experience these things, because you get an element of control over what's going to happen. I don't
Mhm.
have to be hyper aware. Hyper awareness is about not having control of what's going to happen in my environment.
Mhm.
So, yes, I want us to be advocates. I want us to be knowledgeable. I want all those things to occur. And I also want us to actually take care of ourselves, make sure that we are caring for our inner being, after experiencing some of these really harmful things.
Okay. Okay, so now that you have given us the strategies as parents, as mothers, grandmothers, guardians, as fathers, let's talk about our sons, our cousins, our uncles, our brothers, all of that. Let's talk about that. Like, how do we talk to them? How can we, and especially women are, I don't want to say in survival mode of this, but um, a lot of black women right now are on edge. So how do we not, um, how do we not, I don't want to say fear and pass that on, but how do we not pass this on to our sons, our uncles, our brothers, our cousins? How do we not, pass this on? Like, how do we talk to them, in a way? And sometimes, you try to prevent and you try to make a plan of action, but, can you talk? Can you let us know, like, how we can maybe strategize on this set for the brothers, the uncles, the sons, the cousins?
Well, I mean, there's a few things. We need to make sure that they have a safe place to talk,
Mm-hmm.
to
That's
express their
good.
feelings, to understand, so we can understand what they're actually experiencing, right? So part of what I do in my clinical work is that I listen to what you need, right? Not what I think you need. I listen to what you tell me you need. And if I listen really, really well, I can hear that. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of times our black men and our black boys don't have a place where somebody just listens,
Mm.
advise, doesn't guide, doesn't even game plan, just says, how is this impacting you?
And
What are you
sometimes
afraid
they don't talk. Sometimes they don't talk, and I think sometimes that's the problem, that they don't open up.
right? Because we go into action mode. We're like, okay, honey, so
Yeah.
if this happened, do this, do that. And they're like, whoa, hold up, right? Either not, they're not ready to hear that, they don't want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
It makes them more afraid than they already are. I mean, there could be a lot of reasons. So I'm just giving you a few. But if you listen to them and you have an open place for them to talk. So sometimes, like you said, they're not talking because they don't feel heard,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I have a young man that I see on Saturday mornings. Uh, I call him young because we getting up there in the age stage,
Right.
but he's in his early late 20s, early 30s, so
Yeah,
he's
that's
young,
young.
young, right? Because we got kids that old.
Yep.
But and when he first came to me, he was just stressed about being at a predominantly white institution. He's working there and just feeling some microaggressions and things like that. And so I said, if you commit to coming every week, I'll commit to listen to what you got to say. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
want to hear. I want to hear from you, because he's like,
Mm-hmm.
I was so sick of people telling me I'm supposed to do this and that and this and
Yeah.
that, and I just need somebody to understand what I'm going through,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? And so what I do for an hour every Saturday morning is I listen. I just listen. And usually
Mm-hmm.
by the time he stops talking, he's like, "Oh, I think I know what I want to do." I'm like,
Wow.
"Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay." Well, that's when I usually jump in, is when we're getting the game plan together of what he actually wants to do. And so I use an example as just saying that sometimes our young men just don't have a place just to say the things.
Mm-hmm.
He Sometimes he cuss in the session. Sometimes he just, he called people all kind of different things. You know, and so occasionally he'd be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Bar." I'm like, "No, you,
Yeah,
you
get
don't
it
have to.
out. Yeah.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
just say what you
Mm-hmm.
got to say. If you want to call them, whatever you got to do. My job is not to judge what you're saying. My job is to help you judge what you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so my point is that we need a place for our black men and boys where they can just talk.
Mm-hmm.
Just talk, even if it's just about basketball, even if it's just about football. Start having a conversation so that they feel comfortable when it's time to talk about the big things, like this, right? So sometimes as women, as mothers, what we do is we don't get involved in the little stuff when they just
Mm-hmm.
talking about who likes Drake and who likes what's the other boy name, Kendrick, right?
Yeah.
We don't get involved in that. That's I want to hear that, right?
Yeah.
But then some. this comes up and we want to sit them down and have this serious conversation.
Conversation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I wouldn't even think, I wasn't even thinking like that. Like, you the one scared for me. I'm not scared for me
Mm.
sometimes.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes it's, I mean, it's, you're a black man. You might die any day. Sometimes you hear
Mm.
that. Whatever that is. My point is that we have to start having conversations and having spaces where they can talk about anything, so that when we got to talk about something, the door is open. There's an opportunity to actually talk about the big thing that I might be concerned about as a mom. So that takes planning on our part. It takes
Mm-hmm.
action on our part. It takes creating time and space. It takes not judging whatever they're going to tell you, even if it's
Mm-hmm.
stuff you don't really want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
It takes being involved and interested in what they're doing, even if it's not something that's of interest to
To
you.
you. Yeah.
Right? And so that's the recipe. Now we are in this situation here that you're talking about, and what do we
Mm-hmm.
do now? Yes, we can start having a conversation at any time. So this is a great time to start a conversation, but starting that conversation by saying, hey, we haven't really been talking about big things, we ain't been talking about small things, but I really want to start talking about stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? And I want to start with this.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about? And let them have a place to talk about what they want to talk about too.
Yeah.
So that's like the number one thing, if I could tell everybody in the world, is just have an open space for dialogue that's not judgy, it's not directional, like I'm telling you what to do. It
Mm-hmm.
is just us talking,
Mm-hmm.
right? And our black men really do need spaces like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then also listening, like when they're talking, listening to what they say and helping them to get that thing that they need, versus again me judging and telling them what they should be doing and shouldn't be doing and when they should do it and how they should do it and things like that.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
Obviously, I think counseling is amazing. So I hope that everybody goes and gets a primary care clinician that can be there for them through anything that they're going through. Um, so, those are a couple things, but the big one is really just that open dialogue and listening to what it is that they need in light of what's happened.
Mm-hmm. And I think this is so true. And I think, well, of course it's true, because you're sitting here, telling us. But and then sometimes I feel like that that's kind of what the our culture is missing, just like the open dialogue, like the not judging, the trying to just kind of just have an open mind. And I think that society, we live in a society that we're just we're judged so much, and
Hmm.
then we're not we're not trying to hear them, but at the same time we're trying to push more information on them, and push this on them, and push this on them. So this is it's great. And I think that if we do have that open dialogue, and this is like preventative ways, kind of talking about it, and not waiting to something like this happens, and now everybody is in like on edge. People are on edge. People are literally fighting on social media, in comment sections and stuff, and that's not healthy. It's not getting anywhere. It's just making, of course, like you say, it's just getting that anxiety just you know filled up.
Right.
And we got to stop fighting with these people on social media. I mean, I don't fight. I just kind of look, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're really going in on these comments. But this has been very informative. Very informative today. So factual of all of this. Wow. If you could, say one thing to um, the black male out there, what would one thing you would say to them today?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Hmm.
I don't know if there's just one thing.
Okay, do
Um,
two, two, three.
I think that they're, I would love our black men to know that they are valuable, right? Like their lives matter. Um, their dreams are important.
Mm,
Um, their safety is needed,
yeah.
right? They deserve to be protected just like everyone else. You know, I'm not a black male. I don't know what
Hmm.
it's like to be a man. I don't know
Hmm.
what it's like to be a black man. I see how society treats them.
Right.
I see how people talk about them.
Hmm.
Um, I see what happens to them.
Hmm.
And so I would love to hear from them.
Hmm.
Like, I want to know their story. I want to know how I can be one piece of helping them get to where they're trying to go. Um, and, I think about this young man that was involved in this situation and what he might have been going through that even got him there.
Hmm.
Right. And I'm not blaming anyone. I'm not
Anybody.
saying
Right.
miss anything. I don't even know enough about the case to even speak
Right.
intelligent. All I know is I hear stories similar to his
Right.
quite often.
Right.
Um, and so, I wish that we could slow down and create safe spaces for them where they can just be.
Hmm.
There's a book out there called Black Boy Joy, um, that is just them finding joy. And what is it that we, as Black women, mothers, grandmothers, aunts, can do to facilitate that?
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I have lots to say, I guess, and I don't know. I don't know.
Mhm. Well, that was a lot right there, and it was heartfelt as well. Um, so you mentioned about community. You mentioned about a safe place, a safe space. Let's kind of dig in that because I know you've built the village,
Mhm.
and it's specifically around the idea of collective healing and support. So, can you talk about the village and the building of a support system? Can you talk about that right now?
So I'm super proud of the village. It's a labor of love. It's something that it's been my baby for quite some time. Just figured out how to make it actually all come together. Me and IT are not friends, so I figure out some IT things. Had to get my 12-year-old on it. Um, but the 12-year-olds, they can fix anything. So anyway, what I do know about black and brown people is we are communal people. Like we thrive in communities. um, we don't really experience community at the level or like we used to at all.
Mhm.
And so the village is named the village because I think it takes a village, to be healthy, no matter what kind of health we're talking about, physical, emotional, financial, spiritual. It takes a community of people to do that, and that's how we thrive too. So we put
Mhm.
those two together, and so the village is really specifically for not black women. It's actually for women. We're predominantly a woman organization, but we accept all women from wherever they come from, as long as their goal is to heal and to help. Right. So if you are a healed ED individual, we love you to help those who are not. If you're not a healed individual, we hope you're going to get healed ing in this space. And so we have a great time supporting one another, sharing with one another. We have workshops, we have, virtual pajama parties once a month where we get together, we watch a movie together, and then we talk about the elements of the movie that help us to be better individuals. Our last month was Waiting to Exhale. That was a blast from the past, but
Yeah.
that was so relevant to what's happening now for Black women. It was
Yeah.
very interesting. And so we have retreats. We have a retreat coming up in July in Tampa, Florida. And so we spend time together. We spend time nurturing one another. We get together Monday through Friday in the morning. We also have a prayer time in the evening for those who subscribe to be Christian folks at 8 o'clock Eastern. And so, really, it is a place, hopefully, when it's all said and done, that you can find your village within the village. So, you'll find people who are like minded. Maybe on topics that I don't even know about, right? So I'm not into sewing, but there's some groups of women that are getting together and sewing together virtually. It's just amazing about how you can heal in community. And so you don't have to be broken to come. You don't have to be fixed to come either. It's
That's
really
good.
just a place for us to support one another and start building what we used to have
Hmm.
uh, back when we had, our communities that had all kinds of walks of life,
Yeah.
but people that could identify with one another.
Yeah. That is so good. That's so good. And now that you say that, you can. There was a difference back in the day when the communities came together, the villages came together, um, and I hope we all kind of get back to that state. I don't know how we got torn. I'm not for sure how we allowed that to happen, but I hope we can get back to you know joining together and not you know separating. So before we close, I have to ask you this signature question that I ask everybody from the game to Grace. And our podcast is called From the Game to Grace because we believe life isn't just about surviving the game. Um, we're forced to play. It's about finding grace in the midst of it all, right? So, here's my final question for you, Dr. Mari. In this moment, when Black parents are carrying so much fear, so much pain, so much weight on their shoulders, trying to protect their Black sons, where do you see grace showing up, and what does it look like for us to move from just playing in defense in this game to actually living in grace for ourselves and for our children?
Mm. I think grace shows up, I guess I could say for me, um, in not allowing mistakes to dictate future behavior. So, for instance, we're talking about space, creating safe space for boys to be able to talk. And if that space has not been created before, not beating yourself up and saying,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh man, I got it wrong." Just say, "Okay, I know better. Now I'm going to do better." So I'm going to go create the space now, even if your child's 25, 35, 45. I'm going to create space today um, to create to have that type of that line of communication. So grace in the context of what we're talking about is not allowing what I didn't do to dictate what I won't do,
Mm.
right? It's to actually change that once we see it, and giving yourself grace enough to do that. Um, so yeah, that's where I see grace extended in this particular topic. And the other thing you talked about was, and we both come from the world of football,
Mm-hmm.
the defense, being on the defense.
Yep.
And I often use that analogy in therapy is that, some people will beat themselves up because somebody did betray them or somebody got over on them or whatever that is. And I say, well, the offense always knows where they're going.
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
You know, in football, and I know in football, the quarterback knows where the ball is going before the snap happens,
Yeah.
right? He might change it up if something
Hmm.
he sees something a little different, but even when he changes it up, he knows what his changes are going to be,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
He's always in a position to win.
Hmm.
The defense on the other side has to guess,
Hmm.
right? They're guessing what's going to happen. They may have some educated guesses, but it's a guess opposed to the offense that knows,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of times what we have to do as black and brown people is to get to the offensive side and not so much on the defensive side, right? So that's when I was talking about earlier about having a plan, having what's
Hmm.
your plan, getting ready to deal with this traumatic experience. We know this. What is your plan of action? That puts you on the offense now because you know
Yeah.
what you're going to go do once you hear the verdict. You know what you're going to do when you watch the movie. You know what you're going to do when you go into
Hmm.
your boss and your boss is giving you is have all these microaggressions going on everywhere,
Yeah.
right? You can't lose your job. You can't go
Right.
in there and say,
Right.
you know what? We're not losing our job. We're gonna go in there and take care of business. But I have to get to a position of offense. And if we
Mm.
can do that, then our anxiety is greatly reduced.
Mm. That's beautiful. Oh, that's good. That is so beautiful. Um, yeah, that's good. Mm. Wow. So, Dr. Mari, for everyone listening and who wants to connect with you or learn more about the village, where can they find you?
They can find me at Dr. Mari, P as in Paul, H as in Henry, D as in dog.com. So Dr. Mari, PhD.com, and it has all the things there that tell you what we do and how we do it.
Okay. Okay. Well, there you have it. We have had Dr. Mari, and she is again a licensed a licensed therapist. I
Oh,
have
you
to
did,
say that.
Daddy!
I
Listen,
gotta
I
say
got the license, I got the PhD, I got the
yes.
dissertation. If you want to know what it is, like,
Hey,
that's
she
what.
she is she is her. Yeah.
Oh,
So
don't do that. Yeah, you're gonna
yeah.
start a whole now you're gonna start a whole nother thing on
I
the
know,
Instagram.
I know, I know. So, okay. So, until next time, let's just make sure you're protecting your peace and you're allowing grace for others and that you're not alone in this journey. So, until next time, we're out of here. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to From the Game to Grace with Jarius and Candace Hayes. If today's episode encouraged